You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, Episode 5. In this episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, Dan and I have a chat about what we take with us in our blind bags when we head to the field, and we're also going to be joined by the guys from Fowled Reality as they preview their upcoming Season 4 of their online video series. All right, welcome to the show. This is Episode 5 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. Joining me as always is my co-host, Dan Harushka. Dan, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. We've got a good show here this week. We are going to be joined by the guys from Fowled Reality. They are superstars on YouTube and Facebook, and they're getting ready to start their Season 4 of filming of their show. And they're going to come on and talk with us about what it takes to get a show to that level and what they've got coming up for for their Season 4. So really excited to chat with them. And we're pretty much in a lull in the hunting action for us here. The duck season comes back in for 4 days here in October. So we get 4 days to kind of get after them, and then unfortunately here in Virginia we're kind of sitting around until mid November when the season comes back in. So probably take that time to get out in the deer stand a little bit and try to fill the freezer in that regard. But kind of a little bit of a quiet period here in the duck hunting world for me until we get into the big push of November, December, and January.
Yeah, it gives you a shot to check all your gear over and, find a replacement for your now leaky waders. I know we talked about my leaky waders, but you can try and find some deals on a new set.
Yeah, I developed a leak on the inside of my left knee here this weekend, which I was super thrilled to find. But like you said, it's better to find it now than in December. So I'll be doing some wader patching in that downtime for certain. But
that's the worst.
Yeah, it was a disappointing experience. But one of the things that a lot of outdoor people struggle with, I think, and I know I struggle with, is what do you take with you in the field when you're hunting? What do you pack? What do you leave at home? All of that kind of stuff. So I thought it might be a good exercise for us to talk a little bit about what we take into the field with us and share with everybody kind of how we pack for a field or a water hunt per se. And I'll go ahead and start here. For those that know me, I'm self-diagnosed kind of OCD with some things. I hate clutter. I hate disorganization. It just adds a level of anxiety to me that I just don't really like. So I try to be super organized, and I hate carrying too much stuff than I have to. Waterfowl hunting in general makes it difficult because you're packing, decoys and things like that. So you've got a lot of gear that you're carrying just in general. So when it comes to my blind bag, I really try to keep it downscale and organized so that when I need something, I can go in there and find it pretty easily. But where do you kind of stand on that, Dan?
I'm more of the cluttered type, I think.
I can confirm that you are the cluttered type. I've been in your truck. It's cluttered.
You say it's like a gym locker, but you know what? I'd say my number one thing is license stamps. If we're going out of state, just making sure that I'm legal to be where I need to be. Usually if it's a worst case scenario, everything else will be covered by one of your buddies, but being legal is the thing I'm most paranoid about no matter where I'm at. So I make sure that my license is, up to date. I have everything that I need, and that's my number one in my blind bag.
Yeah, that's really, shouldn't be overlooked depending on the state you hunt in. For me, I carry my license a lot in my wallet, so I've always got that with me. But keep being legal, and that is certainly a number one for me. Another thing that I always carry in my blind bag is plenty of ammo. Something that I always carry and I see overlooked by a lot of people is ear protection. I do my very, very best to wear ear protection whenever I possibly can in the field. I tend to bring extras with me in case guys want to use it if they forgot theirs. But we've all had our ears rung by somebody, that's shooting next to us in the blind, that kind of thing. And, when you spend a lot of days in the waterfowl blind, you can do some serious damage to your hearing. So I really try to keep some ear protection with me whenever I can.
Yeah, I learned that one from you. I actually have a couple pairs in my bag now just because, following tips from you and cutting wood all the time. I used to never wear ear protection, but you can start hearing a constant ring and you know that something's not right. So, take care of your hearing. That's, you can't get it back when it's gone. I'll just go on from here. My number 2 would probably be toilet paper. I know it's kind of gross, but I enjoy a cup of coffee, sometimes 2 cups of coffee before we go out to a cold duck blind. And, like everyone else, I'm human, but I don't like to use clothes or a hat. So toilet paper is probably my number 2 here.
Let me say something right now. As gross as that may be, if you're not taking toilet paper with you in the field, you are just asking for a situation. I mean, it's just that simple. And I mean, I've had to bail guys out plenty of times because they didn't have it. So you will not catch me dead in the field, deer hunting, any kind of hunting. It doesn't matter. You will not catch me in the field without toilet paper. That's just a fact.
Yep. I'm in the same boat there.
Another thing that is important, that I carry is I carry a lot of different, I carry multiple sets of gloves because, obviously when you're calling, for me, I don't like to wear gloves when I'm running a goose call and that kind of stuff. So, but I do bring a set of gloves that I can have easy on, easy off, so that when, I'm just sitting there in a downtime, my hands aren't freezing, or I use a muff, type of thing. But also, you bring your wader gloves so that your decoy gloves rather, so you're pulling decoys out of the cold water and that kind of thing. I always have both of those in there because I don't want to forget either of those, in a rush trying to get out of the house. So I make sure I always got 2 pairs of those in my bag every time.
Yeah, the decoy gloves are a must when it starts getting cold. Just something else that I always bring are either some Band-Aids or athletic tape. Usually the duct tape's too big. I usually have that in like an archery bag, but athletic tape if I have my dog out there. And sometimes when we're in cut corn, you get slivers and start bleeding and need something. So athletic tape and a knife, that's usually something else. I'm sure that most hunters have that, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, some of these things are obviously just staples that everybody should have. But a couple other things that I always try to keep with me is, face paint, something to cover up with in that regard. I also always bring extra Ziploc baggies. I usually have my phone in a Ziploc bag or a waterproof pocket in my bag, that kind of stuff. And also, what I've been doing is bringing a plastic grocery bag, a Walmart bag, or something like that in the field with me, because I've been hunting a lot of military installations and things like that where the blinds have to be left impeccable when you're done hunting. So all of your shell casings, all of that stuff has to be collected up and took out of the field with you. So I make sure to bring a bag like that so I can collect all that stuff up, tie it up tight, throw it in the boat, and disregard it whenever I get back to the shore and throw it away. So I always make sure that I'm prepared to clean up after myself when I'm in the field.
That's good. When we said it before, leave it better than you found it. If a landowner's letting you go out and hunt fields, or if it's your own field, you don't want to leave stuff there. So, make sure you get all your casings. And I guarantee if a landowner goes out after you've been hunting and you go back for permission the following year or later in the season to talk to them, they're going to have a couple words for you if they're going to bale a field and feed that to their cows or whatever they might do with it. So, that's just, common courtesy.
Yeah. And, there's only really 2 more things that I can think of that are just absolute must have for me in the field. The one is my coffee thermos. It's small enough to fit just inside of my blind. So I have it with me all the time, and it's just enough for 3 cups of coffee. So I bring that with me every single time without fail. And I'm drawing a blank. Oh, my last one was I bring a smoke bottle. I don't know what it's really called, but a wind indicator, things that you use when you're deer hunting typically. I brought that with me into the field now because it's just easier for me to hit that once or twice, see which way is the wind blowing, is it changing, that sort of stuff, just so that I can make sure that my blind and my decoys are set appropriately. So, I've always had them from being a deer hunter, so I've just adapted those into the field as a waterfowl hunter too.
I'd have to pin you as a major snacker too. You always have a granola bar or something of that sort, where I usually get jealous of it come about 10:30 in the morning, but you're always prepared with that too.
This past weekend I had 2 granola bars, a banana, and an apple all in my blind bag. Now that can change. The menu changes from time to time, but yes, I I make sure I'm nourished when I'm in the field.
That's just overboard.
So there's a couple other things that, I bring with me on occasion that I don't bring every single time. One might be a GPS, depending on where I'm hunting, if I need that to help me find where I'm going in the dark. Another thing that I will bring with me from time to time is a rangefinder. We hunt some spots that are kind of suburbia, if that makes any sense. So we have to make sure we're far enough away to be legal from hunting from some homes, or if we hunt certain parts of the state, we have to be 500 yards from a legally licensed blind, things of that nature. So in those events, I'll bring my rangefinder with me just to make sure that that we're legal and we're hunting where we're allowed to.
Yeah, you don't want to be within a safety zone. There's that could cause problems, as well as we didn't talk about bug spray. You always have your Thermacell, and I've been going out with the Deep Woods. So the Deep Woods bug spray has kept the mosquitoes off me this year, and that's something I greatly appreciate.
Yep. It's very important. Anything else you think that might be worthwhile, or that somebody that might want to take with them in the field you can think of?
Yeah, headlamps, especially this past weekend, setting up, and about half the guys didn't have one, and walking around in the dark. Headlamps, calls. If you are the caller of the group, just make sure make sure you're prepared. That's all.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot headlamps. I actually carry two with me for that exact reason. Either I'm always deathly afraid that I'm going to be out caught in the dark with mine and the batteries die, or if someone forgets one and I need them to help me set up and stuff, I will use that. Of course, calls too as well is a really great point. So if there's something else that you think is important that needs to be in the field with you, I know some guys would probably talk a little bit about preparations for your dog. If you've got your dog when you're in the field with you, bandages for the dog, food, water, that sort of stuff. But if you have anything else that you think would be beneficial, to share with the show, we would encourage you to send it over to us in an email, info@hpoutdoors.com, or hit us on Facebook or Twitter and continue the conversation there. And again, you can always call us on our hotline at 724-609-3695 and share your tip with us. And if we like it and we think it's a good tip, we will play it on the air here and share it with the rest of the listeners of the podcast. So, Dan, when we talk about interviewing people for this show and who we want to have on and who we think would be great guests, almost immediately the boys from Fowled Reality came to mind for me. And I say that because as someone who consumes a lot of online media, videos, that sort of thing, I've seen so much of their work. They are all over YouTube and Facebook. I mean, their numbers as far as their followers and their subscribers and things are just staggering. So I was really excited when we got to talk to those guys and just have them pull the curtain back for us a little bit and just see what all goes into that, because they without a doubt put out some of the best waterfowl related content that you can find on the internet right now.
Yeah, they definitely have a great thing going, and they're putting some major miles on, and they put a ton of time into these hunts, and it's just not the pulling of the trigger, but all the B-roll that they take, and it's just it makes you feel like you're out in a field with them, or just sitting right next to them shooting a bird. So I mean, they just do an excellent job, and I'm ready to throw a couple questions their way.
Yeah, I agree. So let's go ahead and get into it, and we're going to be joined on the show by the boys from Fowled Reality. All right, we are joined on the show today by the gentlemen from Fowled Reality, Blake Hagemeyer, Ryan Breach, and Chris Walters. Guys, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
We're doing well. Hey, we're really excited to have you guys on the show. You guys have a really unique thing that you've got going on, and we're really excited to talk to you about it and find out some more information. But for those of them that are listening to this podcast and haven't heard of you guys, tell us a little bit about what you guys have going on and how you got started.
This coming year, it'll be our fourth season, and way back in the day, Chris and I'm Blake, we kind of developed the idea, came up with the name, and it kind of stemmed from a growing number of online, hunting videos that were popping up everywhere. I had a lot of the video equipment from filming deer and turkey from past years, from the Fowled Outdoors channel. our first move when we kind of came up and formulated the idea was to contact a company to try to get them involved in any way possible. We really didn't have a product to show them, just an idea to pitch them. My first phone call was to the owner of a Michigan-based online waterfowl gear company, and that happened to be Ryan. And through small talk that night on the phone, Ryan said he was driving past the Arch in St. Louis. And I said, really? That's like 20 minutes from my house. And as luck would have it, Ryan, he was from Michigan, but he was currently working at a power plant that was about 35, 40 minutes from where Chris and I live. So we ended up going to his house numerous times that summer, and our relationship kind of grew from there, and Ryan bought into the idea, and, long story short, here we are today, 4 years later. Ryan, Chris, and I are, the three partners that are kind of spearheading Fowled Reality.
I want to share with some of our listeners just how successful you guys have been. I checked the stats this afternoon. Currently, at that time, you had over 13,000 likes on Facebook, over 7,000 YouTube subscribers, and over 4,400 Twitter followers. And I couldn't help but notice you have at least one particular video that had over 170,000 views on YouTube. I mean, that is just incredible success. I applaud you guys for that level. And when you got started, did you ever think that it could be as popular as it is?
I mean, obviously we had hoped it would, but to be honest, we never dreamt that it would grow as fast as it did. We wanted to produce something different from a lot of the hunting videos that were out there, which is probably a correlation to our success. We're not afraid to show hunts that go bad, and we don't solely focus on feeding birds. And so far, it's worked out great, and it should continue to grow as we increase the production behind Fowled Reality.
That's awesome. A lot of people now are making videos. Tell us a little bit about how you guys separate yourselves from the rest of the pack.
Well, we try to focus on more of what goes into it rather than just the hunt of it itself. You'll see in a lot of our videos that they're not always successful. We always try to make sure that there's something to learn. We've always said we combine education and entertainment. So that's what we try to do. We look at what other people are doing and just try to think outside the box all the time.
And I think that's definitely helped separate yourselves. Have you ever considered taking your show onto TV, the Outdoor Channel or something of that sort?
I think anybody who hunts, anybody that watches outdoor programming and starts making videos themselves has that dream of one day, seeing themselves on the television. We're not really any different than that, but there's a huge financial commitment that goes into purchasing airtime on outdoor programming, TV stations. Will we get there? Hopefully. Right now, we're just focusing on increasing our production value and continuing to expand upon our fan base. Hopefully, by doing this, eventually someday we're going to make that jump to TV. Last year, we actually provided a few segments for a program on Sportsman's Channel, but hopefully, someday that show is going to be our own, and we'll be the ones producing those 13 unique videos for outdoor TV.
Yeah, I mean, you guys definitely have the a solid foundation, and there's a lot of people that try to get on TV these days, and quite frankly, some of the shows just aren't quite that engaging. And I can only speak for myself, but I find when I'm sitting at my desk, working from home, typing reports, whatever I'm doing, I'll throw on some Fowled Reality, and it's just playing as and I'll mow through a season or two just as I'm working throughout the day. So you guys have definitely kept me engaged, and Dan and I have done a little bit of filming on our own, nothing to the level that you've done, but we've tried to put together some things, and just the editing and the financial commitment, that's one thing, but you don't really have a show unless you have content. It's not just harvesting birds, but you're obviously, you need to be on birds and that kind of thing. So talk about the effort that goes into getting yourself into position to have the kind of content that you want. How many days are you spending in the field every year trying to get this done?
Last year, I think we spent right around 53 days filming in the field. Obviously, there were a few days when our cameraman needed a fix, and we kind of put the camera down for a while, let him get, fix that itchy trigger finger he may get instead of shooting with the camera all day. So there's probably a couple more days in there, but we gave him the opportunity to shoot some actual birds for once.
You're a heck of a guy. Nice guy there, aren't you?
But obviously those days are few and far between. Not very many people. Actually, Blake is the only one that really knows how to operate all the equipment. Ryan and I are in the process of learning it, in hopes that we can, get some more cameras in the field, or give Blake some more breaks, and allow him to shoot some more birds. Over the course of September and March, we traveled over 10,000 miles to make Fowled Reality Season 3 happen. So there's a lot of time on the road, a lot of time in the truck, a lot of days in the field.
And what it really boils down to is we have very, very, very amazing wives. We cannot thank them enough for allowing us to pursue this dream and do what we do and make all this happen. They are the wheels that make Fowled Reality turn.
Absolutely. Last year, there were numerous times where, we get the phone call that we're going to go on a hunt, sometimes within hours before we actually go. And you call the house, hey, I'm going to be home at 5 o'clock after work. I'm going to be out of the house at 6 heading to Kansas or something like that. And when we pull in, when I pull in, there's a bin sitting there with food and coffee and snacks, and she knows what all these guys like to eat and make sure that's packed up and how many days are you going, and jumped online and got your license for you, got a few things together, and have a good time. We'll see you in 3 or 4 days. Go do your job. So they're absolutely amazing women that we have that allow us to do that. We may want to make sure that we don't count that out.
I was going to say.
One other, too, that I cannot forget having 2 small children is my mother. Mimi saves me a lot on those days where you get a phone call and you got to be gone in a few hours. Luckily, she only lives an hour away and is retired. And from the month of September through February, she's kind of on call. She does an amazing job, and along with our wives, this could not happen without my mom to babysit my children.
It's funny that you say that. I'm sitting here writing things down, 53 days, 10,000 miles. And I was like, man, the thank yous for the wives better be coming soon. So you guys are right on cue with that. I don't think there's,
right on cue.
Yeah, I don't think there's a,
I'm newly married, so I'm not used to saying that.
Well, you better get used to it, bud. I promise you that there's not a water.
She's been a heck of a sport so far, and she doesn't complain. Maybe she likes the house empty without me. I don't know, but she's been a good sport about it so far, and I can't thank her enough.
Well, I promise you, I know you guys spend a lot more time in the field than, probably the average guy, but there's not a waterfowl hunter out there that's married and has kids and that kind of thing that doesn't know a thank you, to their wives and their support staffs at home for the amount of, time that we all spend, your weekends and that kind of thing. So we can all relate to that. But,
absolutely.
You guys are obviously on the, the extreme end of that, compared to the normal guy. For example, the normal guy might go one out-of-state hunt a year, maybe him and his buddies book an annual trip somewhere or something to that nature. Talk about some of the different states that you guys are visiting, year in and year out to make this show happen.
Well, since the beginning, it seems to increase every year, the number of states that we go to. Last year, we were in 7 different states, starting up in North Dakota, down Michigan, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri and Illinois are obviously in there, being close to home. This year we've got 10 states planned in 3 different flyways and 1 province up in Canada. Alberta, we start off in October. New York, we're going to do in September. Then we do our North Dakota trip in November. And from there on, it's just seeing what happens with the weather and what happens with the waterfowl and how the season's going to progress to see where we move to next. We'd like to hunt all 50 states in an entire season, but obviously that's not going to happen. But we definitely are on the move and keep it alive for sure.
Yeah, 10,000 miles, that's quite a bit on a vehicle to get around different places to hunt. Some of the states you just named are just, awesome for waterfowl hunting. Tell us what your favorite place to hunt. What's your favorite state?
In the traveled, that I have done so far, I would have to go with Nebraska. There's a huge variety of environments to hunt in. There's a ton of off-the-grid locations that, here in Illinois, if I was to see that location, I would think, that's not worth hunting. In Nebraska, those little off-the-wall spots, a lot of them are awesome. You've got marshes, rivers, lakes, ponds, obviously the dry fields when it gets cold. It's not a state that you hear a whole lot about for waterfowl, but we've met some really awesome people from Nebraska, and they've given us some invites, and we've had some knockout hunts, anywhere from ducks to snow geese. We were there in early December for the first really harsh cold front, and we finished our season there in the snow geese migration in the spring. It's an awesome state, and looking forward to getting back to it again this year.
Yeah, and you guys definitely pile up the snows and the greenheads. What would you say your favorite species is to hunt? And on that note, to film.
As a group, I think it's an overwhelming majority would say that the favorite thing to do would be hunt dry field mallards. Typically, when they're using the fields, it's cold. They're driven by hunger, and they're usually fairly easy to pattern. They tend to fly in bigger groups. They're easier to spot. Permission permitting, it's easier to get on the X, and it's just you're able to get into those knockout, unforgettable hunts. When the ducks are hungry like that, they're usually a little less smart. They've got food on the brain, and that's about it. And they got to stay warm, get a lot of energy in, and prepare for the harsh days of winter.
And from a filming standpoint, having thousands of dollars of equipment over a dry field is way better than having all that stuff floating over a pond or a marsh or any sort of water. So from a cameraman's perspective, I want to be in a dry field as much as I can.
And as far as species is concerned, obviously mallards would be, those big greenheads would be the number one species, but I guarantee you that if you've got a flock of 10,000 ducks working you and they decide that they're going to commit all at once, and right there front and center is a big old sprig pintail and 6 guns come up out of that blind, I guarantee you that favorite species just turned tail.
We actually have footage of that from this past year.
You guys are touching on something that I wanted to get into next with you. You've got a lot of footage out there, and I've watched a good bit of it, and I certainly have my personal favorites of the videos that you guys have done. The episode where you guys shoot the 100 snows in a day is great. You've had some really good mallard hunts, and I've also enjoyed some of the episodes where you guys have struggled a little bit, and you kind of talk people through that. And one particular that I really enjoy is when you guys were up trying to film diver ducks. And, you were experiencing just how difficult it is to make a quality video, sitting in a layout boat and that kind of stuff. But I'm curious as to what you guys have as far as your favorite hunts and, maybe a past episode or a video that you guys look back and laugh. And maybe it's because you had a great hunt, or maybe it was because you had some unique challenges that you kind of dealt with, or, just talk to us a little bit about some of your favorite memories from, being, recording the show.
Well, I can tell you that we could film 300 episodes, and probably my favorite is going to be North Dakota in season 2. And the reason being, for the first time, it was a chance that I got to get my brother out that I don't see very often, to do something like that with us. He's a diehard waterfowl hunter, but it was awesome to get him involved and let him see what we like to do, and also get him out on a hunt like that. It was also a turning point, I think, for us as Fowled Reality to do North Dakota, because that turned out really well as an episode, and I think it struck a chord with all of us that there was a really good chance that we had some potential to compete in the industry with filming, and that we have some good guys, and with a little bit of work we could do good. So I think that North Dakota trip in season 2 was the best. On my mind, just for those reasons.
I would have to say I'd go back to Nebraska with mine. Last season we had an episode called The Arctic Cold Front, and it kind of goes back to that off-the-grid place. It was a river. It was what it was called, but it was not wide at all. Maybe 12, 15 yards, more of a creek than anything. The temperature plummeted probably 50 degrees in 24 hours. We went from light jackets and long sleeve shirts to 3 layers of clothing that following morning. And by the time we left, there was ice chunks flowing in the river, and we didn't see a ton of ducks. We didn't see a ton of geese, but what we saw, man, you didn't have to really do anything. They saw that little bit of open water there in front of you and a couple decoys, and they were coming. That's probably my most memorable experience, just because the setting. It was gorgeous. It was snowing the first day. You've got the sand hills of Nebraska, pine trees, this big embankment of a river where the blind just disappears, and it was gorgeous. Beautiful setting.
Yeah. In season 2 and 3, you may have noticed we did back-to-back trips to Oklahoma, and that was established by way of a relationship we developed through social media with a guy named Josh Dickerson, and he's become a real good friend of ours, and he tends to invite us out there just at the right time every year. The opportunities out there, it's another one of those states you don't hear very much about. It's a diamond in the rough. If you notice the episodes from Oklahoma, in season 2 and 3, we had episodes from what we call the ditch. And it's just this, I don't know, probably 10, 12 foot wide ditch that's 5, 6 foot deep. And there's just, you basically take captain's chairs, put them in the ditch, and cover yourself up with, the random grasses and pigweed out there. And the ducks just get right off the river, and they work by the groups of hundreds. But my favorite hunt from last year, and probably ever, would be the episode titled "A Step Behind" from Oklahoma. The weather played a bunch of tricks on us, and we had a bunch of rain, and ducks just scattered all over Oklahoma where we were. And we put a lot of window time in that weekend trying to find these birds after this rain came in. And we found a bunch of birds flying and hopping through these fields, but we couldn't really tell the landscape that we were going to be hunting if we were able to hunt it. We knew that there was probably going to be a little bit of water back there, and probably, just in the fields with the amount of rain that we had gotten, as well as, and probably potentially a pond. Well, we get permission and we get out there, and it's the perfect setup as far as we're right between these 3 ponds. We're hunting sheetwater with our backs against a fence row. And what I remember most about that hunt is the way the sun would shine off the greenheads. It was perfect. It made for gorgeous videography, and it was great. It was a great hunt. Killed I believe a 5-man limit out that day, and it was just one of those long drawn out hunts that you were able to have a good time all day and make the most of it.
That's something that you guys do really well in your videos is, you paint the picture well, whether it's a struggle or a great day or you're spending time in the truck, you paint that really well for the viewer. And, it really helps us kind of, as I'm even now this summer, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm watching you guys out there on the road and I'm like, man, I can relate to that. I know how that feels. And it's just really cool how you guys are able to pull that all together. And that sort of leads me to my next question for y'all is, pull the curtain a little bit back for us. I mean, we've been talking about, 10,000 miles, 53 days a year, 7 states last year, all that stuff. Tell us about once the videos, it's in the can now. You're in the off season, or, you've talked about Blake running the camera most of the time. How's the production flow work once you guys get all that footage? How do you decipher it? How do you, make those cuts that end up as what we see as viewers, that engaging footage? Tell us about that process and just how much time, because I don't think people really truly appreciate how much footage you can capture in 53 days, and how much you have to go through and how much time it takes to cipher that down to, 12, 13, 14 minutes of engaging video. So tell us a little bit about that for you guys.
53 days sounds like a lot of hunting, but when you go to sit down to produce 10 episodes, you feel like you need to have filmed twice as many. It doesn't always work out the way you want it to. What does work well is we're not trying to edit while we're hunting. The typical Fowled Reality season starts in March, which is right after, the waterfowl season. For me to be able to produce 10 shows while filming 53, 60 days a year, I don't think I'd be able to live. There's so much time that goes into producing one of these episodes. From an editing standpoint, once I have all the footage on the computer, for me to start to the point where I'm finished, I've got 8 to 10 to 12 minutes on my timeline. It's probably 15 to 20 hours, give or take. It depends on, some of our episodes is going to be a compilation of 3 or 4 or 5 days of hunting. Those obviously take longer because I've got more footage to sift through compared to the days where, like the hunt Chris just talked about, that was one day in one episode. That's a little shorter. There's not as much stuff to sift through. I've got to convert footage. I've got to log footage, so I know whenever I go to edit, what is this minute-and-a-half clip having it. So that's my first step, is going through and naming all of them. Name it something unique so that I know if I look at that, I know exactly what's in there. And then as far as, cut it, what makes the cut and what doesn't, you just try to weave in the story with the hunt itself and throw in an interview here and there that tells what's going on. And 9 times out of 10, when I start and go to finish and I come back and watch it, it all, flows pretty seamlessly. And then, I'll have these other 2 guys watch it and kind of, let's try to do this, fix this, add that, take that out. And the final product, knock on wood, has always, kind of come out to where it's worked well. The 3 of us coming from different backgrounds, living in 2 different states, we work very well together. We all share the same passion, and everything works out well. But yes, it does take a lot of time to produce one single episode.
I was going to say, there's no doubt that you guys have passion, for the sport and getting out there, and just the dedication is quite amazing to, put all your talent together and put together your episodes. How about, let's talk about just, we're in some of the harshest weather as waterfowlers. You're spending hours and hours editing and putting these together. What would you guys consider the hardest part of making a video or making an episode?
I think without a doubt, it's filming them. I've been fortunate enough to film anything from, turkeys to deer to elk, but waterfowl by far and away are the hardest ones to film. With a deer and a turkey, it's more, it's typically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them at the most. They're typically walking pretty slowly. You've got a hunter or 2 of them that are right there within arm's reach, so communication isn't a big deal. In waterfowl, there might be 100, 2, 3, 400. You don't necessarily know exactly where they're going to fly, when they're going to turn. You have to really learn how to read them. There's times when you might have 6 or 7 hunters that they might be 10, 15 yards in front of you. So the communication is a huge issue. Everybody's got to be on the same page, not only between the cameraman and the hunter. You also have so many, pieces to the puzzle in a waterfowl hunt. You've got dogs that are going to retrieve. You've got decoys out there trying to attract the bird. You've got guys calling. You've got guys calling the shots. There's a lot of moving pieces to a waterfowl hunt, and in order to capture it all, it is a huge, huge challenge. Way more than capturing a deer hunt or a turkey hunt. Without a doubt, filming waterfowl is by far and away the hardest species to film, and that's the hardest obstacle we have to cross to produce these episodes.
Well, I think without a doubt, you guys have a pretty good system figured out there. So, you guys are doing awesome with that. Something that might sound a little bit funny, but when I'm watching a video or, even on the outdoor channel, some of the shows I turn off immediately, but there's some that just totally bring me in. And one thing I always say, I'm like, if I can actually have a sense of smell in their video, like if I know I'm in a swamp with them, or if I know that I'm in a cornfield with them, I totally get engaged with that. And I'm going to ask you for a couple tips for what you guys do for other people that want to film hunts and just make a better film than what the average Joe makes out there.
I have a lot of patience and a lot of coffee. For sure. But the biggest thing, like Blake was saying, is you need to have a group of guys that work seamlessly together. Everybody has to be on the same page, and there's no way we could ever stress that enough, that's got to be one of the biggest tips that we could ever offer on filming waterfowl. Everybody has to be on the same page. If you've got a camera guy that's back 15, 20 yards behind you and he can't hear exactly what the guys are saying in the blinds, and somebody's going to call the shot, and you've got birds scattered all the way across the frame of the camera, you need to know where that's going to happen. You need to make sure that you've got a guy that's calling the shot. Where are we going to call the shot? Go through 2 or 3 volleys of birds, see what happens. If you need to change something up, somebody else needs to call the shot because they're coming in a different area. Communication is another big thing. Communication, all being on the same page, and realizing that so much more goes into filming a hunt than just the hunt itself. We probably do just as much time in the field doing B-roll footage for these shows as we do actually doing the hunt. And then once you put in the interviews with the guys and stuff like that, there's a lot more that goes into that than just the hunt. So you have to be prepared to spend time. If you've got a 4-hour hunt, there's probably another 2 to 3 hours that goes on after the hunt, filming different things, getting the close-ups of your decoy spread. You always want to make sure you've got, guys brushing the blinds, how you're getting prepared. There's just so much more that goes into it than just the hunt itself. A lot of guys think, well, we're going to hunt for 3 hours tomorrow morning. We're going to go out and film for 3 hours, and then we'll go ahead and put it on film for 15 minutes, and there's our hunt. We're good to go. But that's not the way it goes. There's so much more that goes into it. And, just being on the same page, communication, having some good guys that are willing to work together, and a lot of patience.
There's 2 ideas you can go into a hunt with if you're going to film. You can film a hunt, or you can hunt on film. And there's a huge difference. If you're just going to film a hunt, you're going to push record, and what happens, happens. If you're going to hunt on film, numero uno that day is getting footage and getting good footage. And that's the mentality that all of our guys have. We're not there to shoot birds. We're there to get good footage. And if we shoot 10 birds that are right on film, that's way better than shooting 30 birds that are so-so on film. So there's a definite sacrifice to be made if you're going to start filming hunts, and you need to make that decision.
I was going to ask, do you guys have like a checklist going into a hunt that you try and get certain shots, or do you talk about like, guys, make sure that, we have this angle for, I want to put this in a video. Do you guys, get together before and talk about what you're trying to do?
We talk about that 365 days a year.
We kind of look at it as homework, coming up with a shot list. If you're sitting around the couch and have nothing to do, come up with an idea. Watch a show on Outdoor Channel or Sportsman Channel. Hey, I like that. Let's see if we can do this. But how can we make it better? How can we change it up a little bit? Kind of go with the same basis, but improve upon it. So yeah, that's something that never leaves our mind. Like Ryan said, 365 days, we're always thinking about how can we do this? How can we capture that? How can we improve upon what we've done and what we've seen?
And I think that right there is a great tip on, not filming the hunt and just, having a plan going into it. I think that's a great tip for a lot of people. You see a lot of film with, just one camera angle, or, just not a lot of content in different positions. So to any listeners out there, that's a great tip.
And a big obstacle in that too is the financial commitment. Anybody that's going to get into filming hunts, I shouldn't say anybody, most people that are going to get into filming hunts, you start off with what you can afford. And we've done it too. Over the course of 4 years, really myself, over the course of 10 years, I've amassed, as my wife would say, way too big of a collection of camera gear. But you've got to start somewhere. You can't shoot for the moon from the start due to financial constraints. And for anybody out there starting off, do the best with what you can afford, and improve from there, grow from there. Every year, you know, we try to buy another piece or 2 or 5 of equipment so that we can improve our production.
You know, and it's funny because you say that, and that truly rings home because, you know, Dan and I both kind of dabble in photography, and it's, you know, it's different, but it's similar in a lot of ways that you start with what you can afford. And so many times, you know, I found myself able to get better shots and things because I stopped relying on the abilities of my camera, and I started thinking creatively, well, how can I, you know, get this to look good with what I've got? You know, how can I play the, you know, the cards that I'm dealt and use what I have in front of me right now to make this the best that I can. So absolutely a great tip. You know, everybody out there, you know, regardless of what their budget is, they can do something, and it's about what you can do with that something versus just trying to have the best and, you know, all of this kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, like you said, if you don't have the creativity, you don't have everybody on the same page, and you're not all, you know, pulling in the same direction and, you know, putting the footage first, you know, it's not going to be a great product. But so good stuff there, guys. I wanted to touch on something here because you mentioned this earlier, and in our last episode, we had Mark Brendemill on the show, who's a territory manager with Avery and a freelance outdoor photographer, and we talked with him about, you know, damaging equipment in the field, and, you know, he's talking about dropping, you know, Canon Mark IIIs into the swamp and all of that kind of stuff, which, you know, anybody that's familiar with photography equipment knows that's not a cheap mistake there. So why don't you guys share with us, you know, if you have any issues where you've ever maybe damaged a pricey piece of equipment in the field?
Well, knock on wood, and I'm going to cross my fingers as I say this. No, we have not. Nothing major. You know, minor, you know, LCD screen arms, lens hoods, GoPro mounts, you know, stuff like that that gets brittle when it's cold. We've had some breaks there. But as far as large equipment, expensive equipment, again, knock on wood, no. Hopefully you don't say that way.
Well,
we've been very fortunate with, you know, as waterfowl hunters, with the conditions that we put our equipment through. We've been very fortunate, and everything is warranted. You know, there's warranties on everything, but you can never be too safe, and we've been lucky.
Warranties on the warranties.
Well, I just want to make
insurance on the warranties.
Yeah, I want to make it clear for the record right now that if something, heaven forbid, were to happen to any equipment this year, it is not my fault for asking you guys the question and making you address that. So just clarify that right.
You know, you're gonna be this conversation is going to be the first thing we think of if that ever does happen.
I'm just glad I didn't have that question.
So, guys, you know, obviously, it takes a lot to make what you guys do. You know, the clips that we see online, you know, there's a lot that goes into that. Describe for us sort of generally what a normal camera setup for you guys is like when you're in the field. You know, the different types of cameras you're using, you know, how that all plays into effect, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, while we're filming the actual hunt, we typically have one main big video camera. And then we tend to sprinkle 3 to 5 GoPros throughout the, you know, the decoy spread, somewhere around the blinds, maybe on one of the guns or on, you know, a head strap. This year we're probably going to be using about the same amount of stationary cameras, but we're looking to add, you know, a second full-time camera guy, where or when he's needed. Obviously, you know, the more footage we have come editing time, the better the final results will turn out. Just, you know, the better the final product will be.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like you said, the more footage you have, the more you can use. Go into more specific. What is the main camera that you guys, you know, what's your go-to camera?
Well, the main camera that we use, that Blake typically films with, is a Sony AX2000. This year we just added the Canon XA20 that we're going to use right up front in the blinds, just like we were saying, to add a lot more footage, give a lot more material for us to work with. And once the season's done and start putting these episodes together, the more footage we can get, the easier it's going to be to put that together, especially on Blake. The more material we can give him, the more creative he can get with that. We also added the quadcopter this year for aerial shots, which should give us a couple cool angles.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a surprise, and you just ruined it.
Oh, I didn't know.
You know, and to add on to that, a lot of the close-in stuff, the B-roll footage, the interviews and all that, most of that stuff comes from SLRs. We've got T3Is and T5Is that, we've got, I guess, depending on who's hunting with us, we'll have 4 or 5 of them in the field with us at all times. So anybody and everybody that wants to push record, capture something, and like we've said, everybody works very well together, and everybody has a creative eye. And the more footage that we can get, the more memory cards that I've got to dump at the end of the day, the better off we're going to be come, final finished product time.
Yeah, without a doubt. Let's go back to the GoPros. They're super popular. How much do you guys use them? I think you said you had about 5 that you scatter about. How much pressure do you put on the GoPro to get good quality footage?
In the right lighting, those things can be awesome. In cloudy, early in the day, late in the day, their footage leaves a little bit to be desired. Like I said earlier, there's so many aspects that go into a waterfowl hunt. You either have 6 cameramen that are capturing all of that, or you have, a remote camera that's stationary. And from a cameraman's perspective, to be able to control them from afar is huge. And that's what we do. We might have a GoPro on a gun or a head strap or a decoy or a mojo or behind the blinds or in front of the blinds. And whenever it comes time, there's a flock in the distance and they're coming. For me to be able to turn on the big camera, push record on the remote to control all those other cameras is huge. That way the guys that are hunting, the guys that have guns, they have one thing to focus on, and that's calling those ducks in, calling those geese in, and shooting them in the right spot. And I'm the one, or whoever the cameraman is, they're the ones that need to, focus on capturing it with all the cameras going. So we use GoPros a lot. In finished product, we don't use it probably as much as we could. There's a ton of GoPro footage that nobody other than us ever sees. You put them out there to try to get that maybe not once in a lifetime shot, but that once in a season, video clip of a bird landing right in front of it, or a bird, getting shot right in front of it. By having 4 or 5 of those out there during the hunt, you're going to increase your odds in hopefully capturing a clip like that. And so that's why we use so many of them. And rather than having to fake or recreate the guys coming up, calling a shot and jumping up out of the blinds to pull the trigger, by having those stationary cameras and those GoPros planted out there in the spread and around the blinds, we don't have to recreate that. We can, piece everything in when we're editing. It's all in real time. There's nothing fake.
Yeah, and the GoPros have been really sort of a game changer, I guess, for lack of a better term. And, it's really allowed just sort of the normal guy to, get out there and purchase one and, throw the strap on his head or, stick it in the ground in front of his blind and, at least, get some kind of footage that you can look back and kind of, enjoy the hunts on your own sort of videos. So those are obviously increasingly popular. And, I always enjoy seeing, good GoPro footage because like you said, they struggle at times in low light and things, but there is some really cool stuff that, you see people that are able to catch with them. So they definitely have their place. But, so, we've covered a bunch with you guys and, we were obviously, fans of the show and all that stuff. So tell us a little bit about what's next for you guys and give us a little preview for season 4. You mentioned, 10 states. Obviously you got a big year plan. Tell us about it.
Well, this past season, the past off season has been extremely busy. Like we touched earlier, we talk almost on a daily basis, coming up with new ideas, new shots, new things we want to do, new things we want to try. We're always pushing ourselves to take Fowled Reality to the next level. So hopefully this year with all the stuff that we've talked about, and we've just put a ton of planning and traveling into this coming year, it's gonna pan out. We're also really fortunate to have a lot of returning sponsors from the year. Lynch Mob Calls, Hardcore Decoys, Heavy Shot, and Wiley X are returning this year, along with Muddy Dog Outdoors. And we're really excited that we're going to be doing a lot of work with Beretta and Realtree this year, along with Princeton Tech. We're going to be doing 10 episodes for Realtree that's going to air on Realtree.com. We don't have a name for it exactly yet. We're coming up with that currently, but it's going to be 5 episodes solely dedicated to Realtree that we're going to be working on. And then also in between those is going to be 5 videos. That's going to be some real good tips for guys that are getting out in the field this year. It's going to start in mid-October and run through waterfowl season for 10 weeks. And then our season will start in the first part of March. But it's going to be a really busy year in editing and putting it all together. So we're real excited to get out there this coming month, actually, and start.
Wow. I mean, that's just really impressive what you guys have going on. Obviously, I've said this already, and I'll say it again. I'm a big fan. I really enjoy your stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing everything that you guys are going to bring out this season. Before we came on here today, I went online and I was browsing just to see where all you guys are at, and I literally I don't even know if I can count where all people can find your content. So for all of our listeners out there, why don't you guys share with us where people can find your videos and your content online?
The main outlets would be our website, which is fowledreality.com. That's where we post all our videos, all our product reviews, migration updates, all of that type of stuff. Obviously, you can find us on social media like you touched on earlier. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We also have a YouTube channel, which all of our videos get uploaded to and then embedded on our website. So you can check out Fowled Reality on YouTube. Like Ryan talked about, the new videos that we'll be producing for Realtree, they will be on realtree.tv. They'll also be uploaded to the Realtree YouTube channel. Outside of that, our stuff is in a lot of places. So what we really focused on when we started this venture was trying to get it out to the mass. But those are the main outlets. The stuff that you can find elsewhere are the same videos. There's nothing exclusive anywhere else. So check us out on fowledreality.com, on our YouTube channel, and then starting in mid-October, realtree.tv and the Realtree YouTube channel. That's where our videos will be, and we'll have new content starting mid-October all the way through, I guess it would probably be, mid-May. A lot of hunting to do, a lot of producing to do, and we're very excited, and we're really looking forward to it.
And follow us on Facebook to see where we're going to be. There's a lot of different waterfowl and trade shows we do throughout the year, both during the season and in the off season, different events and stuff like that. So come on out, keep us in touch on Facebook, and come out and meet some of these guys and talk with us at these shows.
I even saw that you guys have a Pinterest account out there. So literally, there's
it's not just for the ladies.
there is literally no shortage of Fowled Reality material out there. So a simple Google search of your guys' name will unlock a lot of that for you guys out there listening to this show. So Blake, Ryan, Chris, we appreciate you guys giving us some time here and coming on the show. Congratulations on all your success. Best of luck this year, and we look forward to seeing what you guys bring out here in season 4 of Fowled Reality.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, guys.
Well, Dan, when you watch a show like they have and the amount of content that they put out, that there's a lot of time and a lot of energy and resources that are put into it. I'm just not sure that I actually could have ever expected that it was as much as what they just said. I mean, the time that they put in is truly astounding.
No, and you can tell by the many thanks and kudos to their wives, especially being newly married and putting so many miles on truck tires. I mean, they put a lot of time out in the field, and they couldn't thank their wives enough, which I don't blame them. They're out there, and I've said it before, a happy wife, happy life. So, these guys have a great thing going. They put out just awesome videos, and I'm excited to see what this next season's going to bring.
Yeah, there's no doubt that they have just incredible support staffs around them to be able to do what they do. So, again, they've had a ton of success, and it sounds like it's just getting better for them. So we look forward to seeing season 4 with the guys from Fowled Reality. And again, we encourage you all to go out and check them online, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. They're on literally every platform. You can go to their website as well. And, we encourage you guys to support the guys at Fowled Reality. So let's go ahead and get into the parting shot. The parting shot for this episode has to do with something that's incredibly frequent and common that I find online when I'm checking these forums. And, a lot of people post messages about, what kind of duck is this that I shot? And, when we're talking about duck identification, it's something that's actually really important and should be focused on a lot more. Recently I've been reading about a lot of the early teal seasons that have been introduced around the country, and several states have actually passed up on the opportunities to have these early teal seasons for fear of misidentification of the bird and people over harvesting unintended species and that kind of thing. So it's really unfortunate because it just cuts back on the opportunities that hunters have to get out in the field and spend more time in the waterfowl blind. So really I would encourage you to just take the time to really try to learn different species and their flight patterns and their feather patterns and things of that nature that will better help you identify birds in the field. Make no mistake about it, they fly early in the morning. A lot of them look very similar, so it can be a challenging thing to take on, but I assure you that it'll be more rewarding when you can pick out those species as they fly across the horizon versus when you get home and you post it on a message forum asking for help. So give that a thought. That's going to do it for episode 5 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. We'd like to thank the guys from Fowled Reality for joining the show. Again, we encourage you to check out all of their stuff online. We hope you enjoyed our little chat about what we take in our blind bags. And again, if you have anything to add to that discussion, feel free to reach out and send it our way. You can reach us on Facebook and Twitter, at our website at hpoutdoors.com, and at our hotline as well, 724-609-3695. So for Dan, I'm Josh. Thanks for joining us. Take care.